Hello, I'm Tiffany Cloud. Welcome to a brand new season of The Storm here on WYLN TV 35. As you can see, we have a great looking new set, and we're going to tackle exciting subjects with fantastic guests in the coming weeks, starting with today. Crime is always top of mind in our region, and who better to discuss it with than our top prosecutor, Luzerne County District Attorney Stefanie Salavantis, up for re-election to her third term. The DA will join me in studio right after the break.
The Storm on WYLN TV 35 is sponsored by Atlantic Carbon Group PLC.
Pull it.
There are lots of things you can pull, but what's the most fun? Pulling parts at Harry's You Pull It, the world's largest auto salvage yard. Pull it. Pull it. Come visit any of their 3 convenient Harry's You Pull It locations: Hazleton, Allentown, Pennsburg, and Pull It.
What's on TV? Plenty. WYLN TV 35, the best in local programming.
S.J. Kowalski is your Mitsubishi Diamond Contractor. They can install a Mitsubishi electric Mr. Slim ductless heating and cooling system. Mr. Slim systems are designed to make any living space in your home inviting. You can have a different temperature control for every room in your home. The money-saving technology can save you 25 to 50% on your heating bill. For Mitsubishi, Rinnai, and trained comfort specialists, call S.J. Kowalski at 570-455-2600.
In a world where an instant tweet can create a firestorm of news coverage, WYLN is moving with the times, allowing for more instant reporting of breaking news on television and on social media, as well as regular hourly news updates. News gets out faster than ever before, and WYLN brings it all to you. Live weekdays at 5:30 only on WYLN. We're your local network.
Welcome back to The Storm. We are kicking off a brand new season on my brand new set with the Luzerne County District Attorney, Stefanie Salavantis. Thank you so much for coming on The Storm.
I'm so happy to be back. Thank you.
I am happy to have you back, albeit this time is the first time you're on this set.
It is.
And I like that we don't have a table between us. There's no barrier. We can just really dive in and have a great conversation. So, and I know there's a lot to talk about, Steph.
There is.
There's a lot going on. So I really want to start off by first congratulating you. You're going to be seeking your third term as Luzerne County District Attorney. I know that is not an easy job. It is a round-the-clock job. You don't have a lot of breaks in the action when it comes to crime in this region. So I just really first wanted to ask you what helped you make your decision to run for one more term.
Well, first of all, I cannot believe that I'm going into my 8th year of being district attorney. It seems like time just flew by. We have done so much together, law enforcement, the district attorney's office, federal, state, and local law enforcement, the things that we've accomplished over the past 8 years, I'm just so proud of. When I was deciding whether or not to run for a third term, I really looked at what we have accomplished in the office and what I want to see occur, additional things that I want to see happen in the office for the community. And that really is what pushed me to run again.
Okay, give me some for examples.
For examples, so we have a lot going on with regard to the opioid epidemic, and we're starting different programs. I am in the process of starting a brand new program in which we trained officers in October of last year and are now starting to get into the actual program It is called the Pre-Arrest Diversion Program. So instead of looking at what we can do for people that have been arrested for crimes because of suffering from a substance use disorder, so thefts, we see prostitution, we see possession charges, even sometimes delivery charges because they're selling to feed their own habit. These individuals are getting caught in the criminal justice system, and we need to find another way to get them into treatment. And I call it using the carrot. Instead of filing charges against you, what about entering this program, spending 90 days in treatment, and if you complete those 90 days, then we won't even file the charges against you. Not getting them into the criminal justice system at all. Helping protect people's employment instead of losing their jobs because of filing charges against them. Keeping them productive members of society. That's just one thing that I have been trying to accomplish.
Well, and the reality is it's probably much more costly to us as taxpayers if you don't do something like that.
Absolutely.
If they end up continuing to use and continuing to go into the system, we have to flip the bill in order to keep them in jail, or the healthcare costs associated with continued addiction problems and going in and out of hospital,
Right.
So if we could get these people healthier, healed, and on a better path, that's in everybody's best interest.
You're absolutely right. And you know, with this program, I really focus on law enforcement and say, you know, I'm leaving it to your discretion. You know who's committing crimes in your community. You know who has a problem, who would be best fit to enter this program. And I'm not looking at, we want hundreds of numbers going in, hundreds of people going in to have stats. I'm looking at if we could help one person, it makes a difference. We need to start thinking outside the box. And I'm actually proud to say that on April 9th, because of thinking this way and finding different ways to address this problem, we will be receiving an award from a organization who goes around the nation and is focusing on different programs that law enforcement and different agencies are doing to help treat this problem. And Luzerne County is receiving an award for being innovative. It's fabulous.
That is really exciting. And
is.
it's not the only award you've received, but I'm going to talk about the other award in a little bit. It's actually something that you've personally received. But just continuing on with the opioid epidemic, I think the other thing that the people need to understand is law enforcement has such a harder time now because we're no longer, it's not just that the police are focused on vigilance and arrests, they're actually first responders, like medical first responders now. And that requires a tremendous amount of training. If there is someone they come across who's had an overdose, you know, getting trained on the use of Narcan and understanding the process of the handoff to the hospital.
Right.
And I know that we're also trying to have more medical facilities do the warm, or it's called soft
warm handoff.
Right, yes, warm or soft handoff, whereby it's not like you just drop this person. I'm a police officer, I drop the person off at the ER and then they spend a couple hours there, they get straight again, and then they're right back out on the streets using. The warm handoff idea is getting them into the hospital and then working with the hospital to help get them into treatment.
Absolutely.
And that requires a lot more time and effort, though, from our law enforcement.
It does. And when I go out and I talk to our law enforcement, it's such a positive response from them. We have had to shift. You know, law enforcement's there to react. If a crime is committed, they're there to investigate and file charges if needed. But now we are taking a different role in law enforcement. It's finding ways to be more proactive, to try to help stop what we're seeing, this incline of fatal overdoses, and seeing these individuals who are suffering from this disease. And so it is important that all law enforcement carry Narcan. They are, and our first responders, we cannot forget about them. Wilkes-Barre City Fire Department alone gave out or administered I think it was over 1,000 doses of Narcan last year, over 1,000. Think about if they did not do that and how many people may have died because they didn't. So it is so encouraging to see how people are actually stepping up, our law enforcement, our first responders, to administer this to save lives and to take those next steps. Our law enforcement want the material in hand to go to these individuals who are suffering from this and say, here are your options. Talk to the family and sit with them and say, this is what I know, this is what I can provide to you. And that's what we're doing together. We're trying to get them as many resources in their hands, brochures, pamphlets, anything that they could have to give to the family. Families feel comfortable coming to law enforcement and asking for help, and which I am so thankful for. So we now have to make sure that they have those answers, and they're stepping up. Our law enforcement's stepping up. And the warm handoff that we have in our hospitals, we have these amazing CRSs, certified recovery specialists, that are in the hospitals. When they come in, they sit with them. They talk to them about what it's like. These are individuals who have been through through everything themselves. And so they're able to sit with them and say, I know what you're going through. This is how I made it through to the other side. This is how I have become so successful in my life and happy. And they're able to sit with them and explain it. And those things are very important nowadays.
Well, with that, we're going to take our first break. We will be right back on The Storm.
The Storm on WYLN TV 35 is sponsored by Atlantic Carbon Group PLC.
Get ready for TV that works for you with Service Electric's TiVo Whole Home DVR. Automatically records single shows or an entire series. Record 6 shows at once and store up to 150 HD hours of programming. The easy-to-use guide helps you find your favorite shows. Start your program in one room and continue watching in another. Stop, pause, and rewind live TV at your leisure. Call or go to sectv.com to add TiVo Whole Home DVR to any Service Electric cable TV service or bundle.
Attention WYLN viewers, WYLN TV can now be seen on the Hazleton Service Electric Cablevision HD tier, channel 507, and over the air at 35.1. WYLN, we're your local network.
I created Teeter so people could live healthier, more active lives. I know what it's like to have back pain. When I found Inversion, it changed my life forever, and I believe it can change yours. In just a few minutes a day in your own home, to help relieve back pain, relieve stress, improve posture, rejuvenate joint health, and build core strength.
The Teeter offers natural relief from back pain, targeting the source of the ache by relaxing tense muscles and providing decompression that can help realign the spine, restore nutrients to the discs, and reduce painful nerve pressure.
Medical research studies have shown the benefits of Inversion, and over 3 million people have put their trust in Teeter to feel better, move better, and live better. I'm in my 80s, and I feel great.
Now you can try the Teeter Fit Spine for 30 days for just $14.95, and we'll ship it to you for free. Call now.
When you see news happening in your neighborhood, call WYLN News at 570-459-1869 or email us at news@WYLNTV.com or send us a message on social media through Facebook. WYLN, we're your local network.
It's spring, and savings are in the air during the spring sales event at All American Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Shop our large inventory and drive off with a great deal. Lease a new Jeep Compass Latitude 4x4 for $189 a month. And during Ram Truck Month, get select Ram 1500 4x4s for as low as $32,890. Or get 0% for 72 months on the Ram 1500. Savings are in the air during the spring sales event at All American Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
Go hog wild for Iron Pigs Baseball. WYLN is televising the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs live. America's favorite pastime on your local network, WYLN TV 35. See the Stars of Tomorrow at Coca-Cola Park. Don't miss any of the games here on WYLN TV 35. Visit WYLNTV.com for a complete Iron Pigs schedule. Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs on WYLN, your home for live sports.
Welcome back to The Storm. I'm joined today by Luzerne County District Attorney Stefanie Salavantis. In the first segment, we were really talking about the opioid epidemic and many things that law enforcement has been doing, the first responders, the police out in the field. I want to also, though, talk about drug court and what drug court is and what has been happening and how successful it's been.
So, you know how I was talking about the pre-arrest diversion program, trying to get them individuals before they actually have charges filed against them. There are cases where the charges are going to be too serious and we need to file the charges, but there is a second option. We have treatment court, or as people refer to it as drug court. When charges are filed, a defendant has the ability to file an application to enter treatment court. They have to meet the criteria in order to get through and be accepted into the court. It is an extensive program. It's about 18 months and could be longer. You have a judge, a prosecutor, public defender, different agencies that are all on this panel overseeing what these individuals do on a regular basis, having to go in front of the court weekly, having to do certain drug tests, making sure that they stay clean and follow the protocol that we have put in place for them. And if they complete that, then their record will be expunged at the end. It is amazing if you are able to ever go to a graduation for treatment court. I tell people all the time, I love sitting there and listening to what people have to say. After going through it, they'll say, you know what, I thought that I can manipulate these individuals and make them believe that I'm following everything that they're saying, and I can continue to do what I've been doing, using the drugs or alcohol. But they realize after a while, I can't convince them that I'm doing this. They know when I'm lying, and it allows them to actually fall into the program and abide by the terms, and they start realizing, I want to do this. And the stories that come from it are amazing.
And I love that it's not super duper easy. I love that it is like 18 months and that there is such accountability, because with that comes the great sense of accomplishment for a person who has completed this. I mean, because you shouldn't get your record expunged just with ease like that. The fact that they had to put in the work and the time, so they will hopefully not be repeat offenders, not go back to drug or alcohol or whatever their substance of choice is. I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing, and that it is the compassionate side of the law that we don't always hear as much about.
Right. And going back to the successes, if an individual, we have found that if they complete 2 years of the program, there's only a 4% recidivism rate. So only 4% of the people that go through tend to reoffend. If they complete 3 years, so if we do a longer contract and it's three years, excuse me, the 2 years was 6%, the 3 years is 4%. Okay. So you could tell the longer they're in, the more they want to fulfill their obligations to the program, but their obligations to themselves and their family. And it's so wonderful to see the transformation.
I want to go back to something we touched upon in the first segment, which is you talked about a great award that Luzerne County was going to be getting because of out-of-the-box thinking, but you also personally got an award recently from the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I'd like you to tell the audience about it. Yes. It's a big deal.
It is. It is. I'm very proud of it. I know I received it, but I receive it on behalf of all of Luzerne County and Luzerne County's law enforcement. U.S. Attorney Dave Freed reached out to me one day and said, you know, I've been looking at the relationships between the district attorney's office, law enforcement, federal, state, local, and it really amazed me how great of a relationship Luzerne County has with all agencies. He said, you do not find that many other places. And so he was so happy about what he was seeing. He wanted to really give me an award for that accomplishment, for the cooperation among all of the law enforcement. Because when you think about it, if we're all working together, what does that mean? That means we're doing good things for the community. We're helping keep the community safe. When something happens in downtown Hazleton, Hazleton's not alone. They have us, they have state police, they have the FBI, the federal government behind them whenever they ask. We're all there as a team, and that is so important.
And we've seen it. I mean, I remember just a few short months ago when you all came in with the different organizations at different levels, local, state, etc. There was the massive sweep. There were so many arrests. It was so phenomenal to see. And I recall when you ran for office, certainly the last time, you spoke a lot about this being one of your goals of bringing these different authorities together.
Right. It goes back to when I first ran. I can't believe it. When I first ran in 2011, one of my goals was to build that relationship and make sure that we have such a strong relationship. And to receive that award at the end of my second term it's just very fulfilling, and I'm just so happy for Luzerne County.
Yeah, it's excellent stuff. Another interesting thing, speaking of out of the box, is the use of new technologies to try to solve some cold cases. Recently in the news, we've been hearing, for example, about a case from the 1960s in the Hazleton area where a child was abducted, sexually offended, murdered. The perpetrator still at large. And new technology has allowed DNA samples to be taken whereby a picture can be drawn of what that perpetrator, based on the DNA elements, looked like at the time of the crime, looks like several years later, and may look like now if they're still around. Talk about that, because to me, the fact that we didn't have the access to DNA technology and we do now is so exciting as related to cold case solving.
It is. That is an area that intrigues me so much. So I'm constantly trying to keep up to date and have my office detectives continue to be educated on what the changes are with technology. These are things that we did not have back then. If you recall, there was an individual that we were able to identify through a certain DNA testing that we last year were able to identify was no longer Jane Doe. Things that can provide closure to families, maybe solve a case. We are looking at this every day, and the constant changes in technology is just fascinating.
And one of the things I want to talk to you in the next segment about to close out the show is all this new technology, all of this thinking out of the box, all of the more complicated cases, none of that comes cheap. No. And this costs money, and so we have to talk about getting the funding for the District Attorney's Office to do what you really need to do. So with that, we're going to take our next break. We'll be right back on The Storm.
The Storm on WYLN TV 35 is sponsored by Atlantic Carbon Group PLC. Life in the Monastery, the new CD by the Sisters of Holy Annunciation Monastery, can be yours for only $18, which includes shipping and tax. Mail a check to Holy Annunciation Monastery, 403 West County Road, Sugarloaf, Pennsylvania 18249, or call 570-78-1205. This fantastic CD can be yours for only $18. For over 25 years, Whitetail Preserve Shooting Range, 118 Boulevard Road in Bloomsburg, has provided professionally designed skeet, trap, and sporting clay fields. All stations are handicap accessible with resident NRA certified shooting instructors on site. Packages are available to fit anyone's budget, and there is a restaurant and catering on site. The facility is also available for weddings, business meetings, bachelor parties, private parties of any kind. Call 570-384-2314. Watch Off the Beaten Path on WYLN TV 35 and discover the Pennsylvania you never knew existed.
Welcome back to The Storm. I'm here with the Luzerne County District Attorney, Stefanie Salavantis. Throughout the show, we've talked about a number of things. The fact that we have more complex crimes to prosecute. We have cold cases we're still trying to solve. We have a massive drug epidemic, certainly with the opioid epidemic, and I do not, for the record, discount, we still have a lot of alcoholism in the county. We have a lot of crimes. We have a lot of violent crimes, many more violent crimes than we've had before. We're trying to do things that are out of the box. We're trying to use new DNA technologies. All of this costs a lot of money. And I'm always reading the newspaper every year, seeing how you're having to fight Luzerne County Council to get the dollars that you need to fund the district attorney's office. It seems to never be factored in, or rarely factored in from my view, that it's so much more complex what you have to do than it was the year before and the year before and the year before. So what are you doing to get the dollars that you need?
Well, when it comes to the violent crime, we're seeing a lot of the violent crime is wrapped around drugs, and the drugs coming into the community. And because of the great work of our law enforcement, our drug task force, really hitting the streets hard, getting the drugs off the streets, seizing money, using that to be able to benefit and provide resources to our local law enforcement. I'm trying to find different ways that we can help law enforcement using those funds, using the Attorney General's office's funds that they provide us through the task force. By doing that, that assists local law enforcement, and it doesn't cost the taxpayers any money. However, there is a point in time when the county council has to say, okay, we're now going to step up, we're going to provide assistance. We have been in discussion about doing that in the near future, seeing what they can help us with. They have been listening. They just approved a position that we were able to fund through other revenue sources for a full-time drug agent in our office to benefit all of Luzerne County's law enforcement. But we need to do more. We do have all of these expenses. Because of coming up with the technology, the violent crime and the expense of taking them to trial, all of these different things do factor into our budget. And I try and explain it as best I can to our council every year. Unfortunately, I know that there's only so much money that can go around.
And that's a fair point. I mean, I said this to you at break. It's hard to get blood out of a stone. Exactly. I get it. There's, we only have so much revenue coming in. We can only send out so much. But when I see the public defender's office being given more and more and more money, and I know what the district attorney's office is up against, I just hope that there is that recognition. I'm glad to hear that you are in talks and continued talks with them about that, and it certainly does make sense that you're trying to pull funding from these other places.
Right, we have to. Again, we have to think outside the box. How can we provide these resources and do what we can to keep our community safe without having to rely on these funds that council is to be providing us every year?
We have a little less than a minute. I opened the show by saying you are up for re-election, so I'm just going to really let you close it out talking about why you think the people should vote for you again.
Well, I come not with just promises that I promise that I will do this and do that for the community. I have, over the past 8 years, made promises, but I also accomplished them. I try to follow through on everything that I've done, and I will continue to fight hard for our community, stand behind our law enforcement, and do things that will help keep our families safe, our loved ones safe. Luzerne County is my home, is where I was raised, and yes, it has been changing. The community members come to me and talk about the changes that they're seeing, but I also see such great respect that people have for their home. And I respect everything that they do to keep their community safe, stepping up with Crime Watch, and I just thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to serve as their district attorney.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And remember, folks, when you look around, don't like what you see, don't complain about it. You can do something about it. Be vigilant, and thank you for watching.